So I read economics and management at Said Business School. And I must say the Judge Business School is much nicer to look at least.
We have it.
I'm going to get into trouble for saying this, but it looks much nicer. Yeah.
Well, Ananya, thank you so much for joining us today. A serial entrepreneur, platinum selling singer, and of course, a mental health advocate. You have broken conventional molds and really redefined what it means to be a young global leader. And you're an inspiration to a lot of us here. But I think Falguni briefly touched upon Swatantra Microfin. Maybe the audience doesn't know that you were only 17, if I'm correct, when you started that.
I founded Swatantra when I was 17, correct.
Yeah. We would love to hear about how that came about. What were some challenges or opportunities at the time that you decided you wanted to go into the microfinance space?
So microfinance is all about, it's a business with a heart, right? And we are funding entrepreneurs who not just fuel our economy, but entrepreneurs and actually just human beings who don't want more money, they actually need money. And so with this, with the purpose of wanting to contribute a little bit to financial inclusion in my country, and also the want to empower women in India, being a woman myself, also coming from privilege, I think I had a lot of guilt and I wanted to give back. However, giving back in a sustainable way is the only way in the long run. And so I was 17 when I started, and I think my age was probably the I would say it was the biggest advantage for me and also the biggest downfall for me at that time. Certain decisions I took at 17, I do not think I would take today at 30, sitting here. Like, I look back and I'm like, whoa, that was really bold of you to do that. So, I was, my team were, everyone around me were men in their late 40s, and I was a 17-year-old. And I must give credit to my leadership team. All of them have stayed with me till date. And I think we've, grown up together. And so it's been a fantastic journey so far with a lot of ups and downs. Started with, I'm going to talk in rupees if that's okay, because it's the India forum, right?
I think we're all okay with that.
So for you can just convert, I don't know where we are right now with the conversion rate. Above 100, is it?
Yeah, above 105. 150.
Oh, really? 115, okay.
Wow.
So I started with 10,000 rupees. And now our total AUM since I started at 17 has just crossed 60,000 crores. We've touched about 25 million, 30 million lives. We're pan-India, and we're the second largest NBFC MFI. And this year we just acquired Chaitanya Microfinance, and that doubled our book size overnight. So it's been a fantastic journey, and like I said, it's whatever you want, I can talk about more details. And there's so much.
I'm sure. But it's amazing how you've seen that kind of growth in about 13 years now, 14 years. That's amazing. But it was very interesting what you said about your leadership team being with you throughout this entire journey. And it would be interesting to know, how is it that you can get people that really kind of believe in the same mission and vision that you do, and how do you keep your team inspired for such a long time?
So I think business is probably one of the highest forms of art. This is my personal opinion. I think it's an art form. I also think business is about people. It's either your customers or your team.
Yeah.
And I think your people either make it for you or break it for you, right? It's not a one-man army. I've had certain businesses which didn't do well, and I've had some that have done really, really well. And the one thing is that there are two things. One is I had clarity of thought and a very clear vision of what I wanted, and I had the right team that was motivated, inspired, purpose-driven, right? All of those things. I think it's really important to bring people on board who share the same or similar values as you do, who believe in the vision as much as you do. And I personally believe in hiring intrapreneurs. So it's more about they're all entrepreneurs, but they're just part of a little bit of larger sort of setting, right? So it's really nice because at Office of Ananya Birla, Birla Group, I would say we're like an incubator of like ideas, innovation, new age thinking, a little bit of risk taking with the right measures, and really trying to blow up right ideas which have a positive impact in the world, but also a good, healthy balance sheet and cash flow, which is super important. So yeah, how do you keep your people inspired? You know, it's going to be up and down. I think the most important thing is it either just clicks or it doesn't. Transparency is really important. Honesty with your people is really important. It's really important that you align everyone to what the goal is. And of course, then there are things like KRAs and things like that. But there has to be a purpose that each one of them, especially a leadership team, should feel beyond just their their CTC, the money that you're giving them. There has to be a larger something within them that they feel towards you, like an emotional equity. And that's how, you stick around and they stick around.
I think that's really interesting how you spoke about emotional equity, and I think that is definitely what we are seeing. Even as business school students today, we're doing so many things, working in so many teams, and we often face that challenge, how do we get everyone aligned on the same thing? And I think it does come down to that, that aspect of how emotionally attached they are to a purpose or to a particular project. Thank you so much for sharing. But you mentioned about entrepreneurs, touching a bit on entrepreneurship. It's such a huge part of your life. What do you think is more important, originality or adaptability? Or do you think it's better or an easier way would be to kind of see what's already out in the market and replicate ideas? Where do you see the landscape like today?
I think everything is very contextual, right? So even when you at the end of the day or at the end of the week, when I look at my MISs, right, from my various businesses, you have your AOPs, you have your budget, you have to have context, because without context, without context, where are we, right? You have the Milky Way, and so you need context in life. So wait, what was
the question? Was what do you think is very important for entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs today? Is it originality?
Yes. So exactly. So it depends on the context of what you're asking, right? So for Swatantra, it was a little bit of originality and adaptability as well. I realized I think it's very important to understand your client really well and to understand the human psychology of your client and basically consumer behavior. So I spent a lot of time with at 17, 18, 19, I used to go to rural India, semi-urban India. I used to sit down in their houses. I used to see, what's driving their behavior. And I realized that for them, being ostracized from society held way more weightage than, for example, losing a bike or a bicycle. And so I created something called social collateral. So what basically happens is let's say you group 11, just for mathematical, you group 11 women, right? And 1,000 rupees each. And if one doesn't repay, then everyone has to put in $100. Because the fear of being ostracized from society is so much higher than losing something that's physical. And obviously the loan size, you can't have their house on mortgage because the loan size doesn't match that. So there was originality there. Now, for example, when I first started, being 17, being, all about equality, I was like, why should I just lend to women? Of course, I'm a woman and I believe in equality, but I want to lend to men as well. No microfinance institution has ever lent to men, obviously because of some sort of reasons. Number one, in those areas, the men migrate a lot. So collections is really hard. Number two, the money that you give to them doesn't come back into the household, things like that. I was like, I don't believe in this, being a little bit rebellious at that age. And I started lending to men and my NPA started going up. So there was no point in being original where that was concerned. So sometimes you don't always have to go from 0 to 1. Sometimes you can really just do what others are doing, but in a better way. You need to have some sort of a moat and some sort of a USP. That could literally just be the way you're marketing your product, right? But it has to be strong enough sometimes originality can really also just take you 5 steps back.
Yeah.
But I mean, innovation is always something that is encouraged. It's always nice as you always learn something from it, and I think learning is super important. But yeah, so I would say it really depends on the context.
Yeah.
And I would say it's a mix of originality, adaptability, and a lot of other things.
Yeah.
If it feels right,
Yeah.
and your idea is solving something, and it makes sense on your P&L, I would say just go for it.
Yes, I like how you ended with P&L.
It has to be financially viable,
Yes.
right? You're not gonna. I personally believe in the valuation game. That bubble could burst, right? It has to make sense. It has to make cash flow sense to me. It has to make P&L sense. There has to be a break-even point. Otherwise, you just keep getting investors. You get a multiple, and then the multiple goes up, and then you get other investors, and then it's just for me, that's a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
Maybe it's easy for me to sit here and say this because I do have the equity to put in. So I do understand the need for that. And of course, when you IPO, you want a good multiple and things like that. But I would say a financially viable model, it's business.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And I think everything that you've said is exactly what they're teaching us in the business school right now. So yeah, but kind of moving a bit away from the microfinance topic, how did Love, Etc. and Contraband come in? I'll let you introduce it to the audience in your manner, and it would be interesting to know how you decided to foray into that area as well.
So I love things that feel good. I think life is really short, and I think it's really important that we feel good in life, right? So Love, Etc. is a color cosmetic brand, and Contraband is basically luxury perfumes. The entire idea is to give the Indian consumer a much better quality at a much cheaper price, right? So also it's homegrown. In India, I'm sure all of you know better than I do, we have this thing of looking towards the West, especially when it comes to like consumer brands. And personally for me, I think it's time now that we start looking up to Indian brands and wanting Indian brands, right? But of course the quality has to match, otherwise why would I pick up something from India, from an Indian brand?
Yeah.
So the entire idea is to provide a better product, a similar enough quality, if not better quality,
Yes.
at a much better price.
Yeah.
And I think for me, luxury has nothing to do with price.
Yeah.
It's about feeling good.
Yeah.
So a really tattered book,
Yeah.
like one of my, whether that's a Great Gatsby, whether
Yes.
that is Jonathan Livingston Seagull, whether that is To Kill a Mockingbird, all my favorite books, right? I've read them multiple times. They're completely tattered, but they feel good, right? That to me is luxury. And so the idea is to a little bit change the narrative as well around luxury.
Yeah.
And I think the Indian consumer is there now,
Yeah.
having grown at 6.5% this year as an economy, being the 4th largest in the world.
Yeah.
I think we're really getting there. I think the aspiration is there.
Yeah.
So we're just at that price point where you have to aspire a little bit, but you can then grab the product.
Yeah.
So that's what Love, Etc. and Contraband is all about. And of course it's, sustainable and all of that stuff. And the marketing is really fun now with AI.
Yeah.
There's a lot happening on the creative side of things. So
Thank you so much for sharing. And I know you talked about AI. How do you see digitally businesses either facing challenges or transforming when we talk about digital transformation and disruptive tech like AI, blockchain? What do you think the landscape looks like in that context?
I have many thoughts on this, and nothing is right or wrong. They're just thoughts, right? They're just opinions. I think as soon as we put that label of right or wrong, things start going amiss.
Yeah.
I think multiple things could happen. Given AI, given blockchain, firstly, I think it's really important to implement correctly to reduce your cost, to be OPEX have a good OPEX, healthy OPEX. But what will also happen is that if everyone is using AI in the right way, it'll become a level playing field, which means upskilling your own talent, and not just your own talent, yourself has become super, super important, right? So hopefully what will happen is that AI won't take over jobs, but if the way I use tech, or let's say the way you use tech and AI is better than the way I use tech and AI, you will replace me.
Yeah.
So there will be a little bit of job attrition.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing that even happen.
So it will happen.
Yeah.
I think it will happen.
Yeah.
But if everyone starts upskilling, there will be value.
Yeah.
In the long run, I think things like human compassion, things like kindness, things like emotional intelligence will become that much more important.
Yeah.
So it could go either way.
Either way, yeah.
I think right now we're building some deep tech for manufacturing, because with data you can do so much now.
Yeah.
We're building a data lake at Swatantra. We use a lot of AI with Birla Cosmetics, even at Birla Estates. A lot of blockchain at the housing, at Swatantra Housing, at Birla Capital Housing as well, because the paperwork is so much simpler with blockchain, right? It takes a little time for people to get used to it. I had to get used to it as well, and then you have a lot of L&D to do and stuff. So practically, it's going to take everyone a little bit of time.
Yeah.
But we're getting there.
Yeah, we're getting there. And I think it's almost like, when the internet came around, everyone was like, what's going to happen? What is it going to do? I think it's maybe it's going to be like a similar, we're experiencing it already with AI, but I think AI or tech in that matter will end up becoming something like the internet that we can coexist with instead of it taking over completely. But so much of the business talk, let's talk to the artist in you now. Ananya, talk to us about how you've turned your passion into something that you do both for yourself, but for the rest of the world as well.
Yeah, so it all started with poetry for me. I went through a really hard time with my mental health when I was 13, 14, 15. And writing became a huge form of expression for me. It was very, very cathartic for me. And I don't know, I picked up the guitar. I used to play the santoor when I was 8. My mom used to play, so I learned the santoor. So I kind of had a ear for music already. And I would listen to all sorts of stuff, so I already loved music. And then somehow poetry turned to songwriting for me on my guitar. And I would just sing however I was feeling.
Yeah.
And it just it would just make me feel so much lighter.
Yeah.
And then I would listen to other artists and feel like I was not alone with my emotions.
Yeah.
And then eventually I realized that if I can do that for one more person out there, why not?
Yeah.
And that's when I wrote a song called I Don't Want to Love If It's Not You. Everyone's had a first heartbreak.
Yeah.
And Universal Music Group picked that up and they signed me.
Yeah.
And I heard all sorts of things. English music in India doesn't work, blah, blah, blah. I said, you know what, I'll keep the lyrics really simple. Yeah. We'll work with EDM.
Yeah.
I'm not going to move away from English just because I think in English, so I write in English, and the songwriting process is something that's it's very close to my heart, and I don't want to move away from it. It's very sacred for me. And then Meant to Be, I got a lot of hate for my first song, it was quite a shitty song, honestly. Meant to Be went platinum and then double platinum, which was never seen before in India by an Indian artist. Thank you. And then Circles went platinum, Better went double platinum in 30 days.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so everyone, audiences were kind enough to give me a year. And then I think I became a little bit jaded.
Mm-hmm.
I think the numbers started playing on my mind.
Yeah.
And I was like, after so many hits, I think I started going to studio to write a hit, not to write good art. Good music. And that's when things started going a bit awry.
Yeah.
So I told myself, okay, I need a break.
Yeah.
And I need to go back to fundamental principles. Why have I actually started this in the first place?
Yeah.
And since a year, I think I've gotten that spark back.
Yeah.
And it just feels so good to be able to write again. And so I dropped the music video for a song called 24. It says 24 Hours in London. and just got G-Eazy on a song.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm back to it, and I just want to do it the right way, and I want to do it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And yesterday, I don't know if Loveleen is here, one of my best friends. I was walking in Green Park, and I was just talking about how will people take me less seriously if I'm into music, and she's like, you cannot, after a point, you just cannot do things for other people.
Yeah.
And I say this all the time, but I'm like, I really need to start practicing it.
Yeah.
And then she also said that, because people get like inked with my eyes or like with the song lyric, and it leaves, it's a very weird, speechless kind of feeling. So she told me, like, even if you touch one person, 5 people, 500, 5,000, you still touch someone's life, right?
Absolutely.
And at the end of the day, that's what you should focus on.
Yeah.
And so I needed to hear that, actually. I needed to hear that, and yeah, I'm back to now it's just about managing my calendar and my time, which is going to be a little bit of a,
No, but thank you for sharing that with us. That was a really, really sweet story. But before I open it to the audience for a few questions, my last question. If you could write a letter to your 17-year-old self, what would it be?
Wow. The more you know, the less you know. Don't try to find reasons behind everything. Just experience life and enjoy it. That's it. Life is not meant to be understood, it's meant to be experienced and enjoyed. And everything is going to work out perfectly fine. Like, if it doesn't go as per your plan, it's going as per the universe's plan or God's plan, and that's 100% going to be better than your plan. So like, everything's going to be fantastic. Keep people you love near you, because that's what matters. Just have fun, like, and try to stay on the right side of history.
Yeah. I think that's great advice. That's a great way to also end that. Stay on the right side of history. We're seeing how it's turning out for a lot of people and countries in the world right now. But audience, open to you folks. Any questions?